changed over. So, Adam, let's roll some music here this morning.
In the early light, before the rooster crows, T-Bus sits where the ticker flows. A coffee cup, a steady hand. He trades the market like a riverboat man. Oh, T-Buzz, he's trading his way through the peaks and the falls, come what may, with a gut full of grit and a heart that won't sway. T-Buzz, he did it his way. He watches the charts like the stars in the sky, looking for answers, a reason why. Some call it luck, some call it skill, but Tom just calls it paying the bills. Through the red and the green, he's danced with a line. Every loss and each win, a tale of his time. Oh, T-Buzz, he's trading his way through the peaks and the falls, come what may, with a gut full of grit and a heart that won't sway. T-Buzz, he did it his way. Not every day's a victory, not every trade a gold, but he's learned to weather storms, let the stories unfold. With his eyes on the prize, his heart in the fray, T-Buzz stands tall at the end of the day. Not every day's a victory, not every trade a gold, but he's learned to weather storms, let the stories unfold. With his eyes on the prize, his heart in the fray, T-Buzz stands tall at the end of the day. Not every day's a victory, not every trade a gold, but he's learned to weather storms, let the stories unfold. With his eyes on the prize, his heart in the fray, T-Buzz stands tall at the end of the day. Not every day's a victory, not every trade a gold, but he's learned to weather storms, let the stories unfold.
Hey, folks. How's everybody doing? Interested day so far, typical Monday. We do a lot of research, a lot of what I would call getting ready for Tuesday. And it's been an interesting market to observe. Tried to go lower, tried to go higher. Apparently about where we were when we started, a little bit higher maybe. But one of the key things to remember, past performance is not indicative of future results. So if somebody told you they were about 80% accurate or 88% accurate, you might listen. Because if you'll learn this DTI approach, and I believe in education, you'll be that accurate too when you make your trades or investments. Because the good news is it's a matter of process. And past performance is not indicative of future results. In my opinion, market's going higher, and our only question is how high in the near future. You get through today, you're in the top third, it sets up a great week. So remember that when I say top third, you take the range of the day, you're in the top third of the day, it's going higher. And just for the record, we had to put this on tape. I told you Bitcoin was going to 125,000. Well, my next stop is 145,000. That's where you'll know the numbers I'm using. in my opinion. I always like to mention this on Monday, our T-Buzz weekly trade letter. We find that people use this as documentation of what we say Sunday night and what's moving and what's not moving, or in other words, what's hot and what's not. But you can join for a year for $9.99. I'd print it off and keep it up, especially when Chuck comes on Wednesday and does a review. Speaking of the retirement center educational program, I think you're starting to see why I said you ought to join this program. I just checked and we're doing fairly good for people that are hypothetically using 27,000 in our retirement account. In fact, we've had a couple option plays. I'll probably make another one this week. Be sure to check the Telegram channel Wednesday at the latest on another option play, plus the stocks, the dividend payers. Might want to add one there, but just look at our money market fund, which I call a super money market fund. We invested the dollars laying around in the SPY. It's gone up since I think it's 637. It's up from. Have to go check. I think that's it, just from memory. You can join right there. If you want a referral to Tasty Trade, a great educational platform, send an email to Roe@DTI Trader with an email to let him know to track it, make sure you got in, and doing a lot there, so you ought to be part of it. The gold program, you can go the expensive way by paying individually, or you can join us for a year, talk to Kelly Barber, Jeffrey Andracker, Kareen. They'll give you the skinny. This is something, if you like what we do, probably the safest way and what I would say the most economical way to be part of what we do. A lot of programs out there, more coming on the way, and just gives you a chance to participate in those services as we do them. Got any questions? Always talk to one of them. 3-day high, 3-day low. Jonathan, you want to go cover this? Or want me to cover it? All right. Bring it up. All right, I'll just go through it real quick. Gold is good. Silver is good. TLT is a little weak. I'm surprised at that. Okay. Keep going down the sheet. This is an early look at it. Yeah, AMD surged. I missed out again. Look at MU. Wow. Bullish. Home Depot's a short. That's interesting with hurricanes. Everything else is pretty neutral. Look at my NNE. I've been telling y'all to get long NNE. It's finally breaking out. Looking good in the neighborhood. Look at that, 52, new all-time high. People say, Tom, you bought it at 10 and you keep talking about it. Well, I keep talking about it because I think it's going a lot higher. This is a nuclear play. Oklo, look at it. I don't own Oklo. That's another one I missed. There's a lot I missed, folks. That's one of them. Ethereum looks good. Silver looks great. AQQ, AGQ. I like that one. My speed, a little dangerous, but I like it. Everything looks good on this sheet. Okay, keep going. All right, my dividend payer. Okay, my dividend payer. I just spent a little time here in the class. If you would like, okay, if you would like a copy of what I put together, send, let's see how to do this. Be in my futures program tonight, I'll give it to you. 7 o'clock. Okay. Pretty good what I put together today in the class. That's all I got as far as the 3-day algo right now. And we got to add a couple new ones. We added Hood, didn't we, Jonathan? You got it on there? HOOW? No. Okay. Well, this is right,
This was our first big update today for the October spreadsheet, and it's posted the slide link a moment ago. Slide number 8.
Okay. Today, one of my favorite features of the roadmap is numbers that pay. And I'm gonna have Chuck go through that with everybody. And you won't get anybody better at teaching you about these numbers that pay. Chuck's had a few nicknames during his long career with me, but when it comes to numbers, don't question, they're good. Chuck, take it away. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Tom. And let's go ahead and take a look through here. Today's focus, of course, how the numbers that pay can jumpstart the trading week. And let's go ahead and move on to our slides here. So next slide's pretty easy. Let's
Well,
Right.
let's learn about numbers that pay.
so
All right, let's learn about it. Here you go.
all right, Jonathan's going to be a little bit tied up, I guess. There we go. Numbers that pay. Now, what we're going to do here this week, we're going to focus on something that this program will let us do. We're going to focus on Monday. And when we go to roadmap numbers that pay, one of the first things I want you to notice, we've got this screen up here. Down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see little tabs for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Of course, our focus is on Monday. Now, you'll notice that we can put in our symbols. Got some things done there. A couple of the stocks that you guys are very familiar with. This numbers that pay, you can name it anything you want. Jonathan has named this train and trade. Our focus here on Monday. So let's go ahead and hit that next slide. We're looking for, what are we looking for when we go to numbers that pay? Where is the market trading compared to the range from the prior week? So when you see the PW tabs at the top, that's prior week open, prior week high, prior week low. And in this case, if we look at the S&P, we know that the open was 66.97, the high 6,800, the low 66.80. We look over to the far side of the picture and you see the last traded price, 67.83. How does that compare to the prior week? It's very inside. But notice if you go over to the gold market and the silver market right below that, you'll see that we've got some green highlighting here, and that is telling you that we have moved outside the range of the prior week. So gold and silver already showing a little bit of an uptrend. Tom mentioned Bitcoin earlier, BTC. They're up to 125,605 with last week's high being 125,025. That is an upward movement. Now, if we were going down, it would show up red, but in this case, we got a lot of green showing up on the board, or at least a little bit of green, and it's in metals. It's in everything away from the US dollar. It's in inflationary protection. It's in, do we think the government shutdown might continue? So gold, silver, Bitcoin doing well, and we're waiting to see if the rest of the market can join. So what are the big numbers? S&P 6,800. In the Dow futures, or excuse me, NASDAQ futures, 25,196.50. Kind of interesting here because we've already been up to 25,241.50 in the NASDAQ, but we're back down at 25,156. So we need that NASDAQ to recover and climb again. Of course, it went up a little bit on great news from, or I guess news from AMD. AMD and OpenAI making a deal. So you had a little bit of a surge high, back down. We'll see if it can climb back out. And in the Dow futures, 46,945 last traded, 46,959 on this screenshot. We're staying inside this range from the previous week. So we've got those boxes and we're looking at how the market performs. So if you're ever wondering, how do you keep track of trends? Well, you can go to a weekly chart, a daily chart, and a 30-minute chart, and you can have all those charts up and look at all of these symbols on all of those charts, or you can bring up something like these modules that we like to build within Roadmap software. The numbers that pay module allow us to check out that weekly trend versus where we are right now. Going down the list of our column headings, you'll notice the ATR. That's the average range expected. It's the average range that the market has shown us, so that leads us to that expectation. The week start open, it's Monday, so it's the beginning of the week. Pretty simple here. Week start open is 67.68 in the S&P. It's 25,000 in the Nasdaq, 47,000 in the Dow. And you can see again how the market's relating. We're comparing that to the last traded price. Are we above or below the open of the week? In this case, we're above. Not quite above enough because we're still looking at that previous week high, but we are above. Now the month open, above or below. Again, making the comparison. So we want to see if everything is going to line up. And you notice with the three that do flash green, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Let's take a look at gold. Open the month at 38.87.50. Open the week at 39.13.50. Previous week high at 39.23.30. Previous day high at 39.16.8. And last trade at 39.79.3. That's pointed higher. Silver's got the same story, different prices, but the same story. Same with Bitcoin. So we're looking for all those little pieces of information to line up and show us the trend. Okay, let's keep going. Our next slide, we're going to look at something that's going to be a little bit more important tomorrow when we're looking at previous day information. In this case, the PD high, the PD low, previous day. That's going to be for Friday. And in many cases, it's not too dissimilar than what it was last week. The biggest thing I'm getting out of this, because of the way we closed out the market on Friday, and because of the way we started the market this week, I'm actually a little bit less interested in that 6,800 because we got that on the previous week high. I'm a little bit more interested in the 67.54. If I'm looking at a long position in something like the S&P, where is that big time risk, that all bets off? It's way down there at 67.54. Now we might want to tighten that up from a trading perspective, but that's the number you don't want to be below, because if you're below that, then the market is breaking the low end of the daily trend. It would still be inside the weekly range from the previous week, but it certainly casts doubts at that point. So always pay attention. Whenever you're in an uptrend, always pay attention to the low of the previous bar, whether it be the previous day or the previous week. That goes inverse if you're in a downtrend, previous day high, previous week high. Those represent points of resistance that could break a downward trend. And the previous day low represents points of support where an upward trend could be broken or at the very least stalled out. So we're keeping a close eye on those numbers. Now let's go ahead and hit at some of the things that Tom was talking about over the weekend. So if we go over to our next slide, Jonathan. Last night during planning, Tom mentioned the big week we have planned for Futures Education, Futures Plus Education. They are in the small class right now, and they've got a couple of things coming up in the short term. And apparently I'm looking through the slides. I might be going a little bit too fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewatch the stream from last night. Now, before we do that, before we head over to that stream, I know Jonathan and crew are going to break for lunch in just a few moments. But let's go through and say, does anybody have any questions about that numbers that pay, or yeah, numbers that pay module within the roadmap software. I think it's going to get a lot more interesting, by the way, tomorrow when your previous day is Monday and you're sitting on Tuesday. You guys know this when you're doing the FTD algo, those first 3 days of the month, and then you get the week start, which is typically a Monday. When you roll into Tuesday, Tom often refers to Tuesday as Tuesday trade day. And this is where something like this really comes into play. Where do you find the numbers that pay in roadmap software? It's under the tables menu. You can name it whatever you like. Doesn't matter what the name is. I'd recommend train and trade, because I'd recommend you show up here and train and trade every day this week and continuing forward. Right click, add your symbols, and get ready to go. So again, this thing I think is much bigger on a Tuesday. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's update on this, because we get that previous day high, previous day low inside the current week rather than inside the previous week. So I think that's going to be kind of the big thing. So we got two people that asked about where you find that. Yeah, it is under the tables menu. Remember, when you're looking in any of the menus within roadmap software, everything's in alphabetical order. So if you go through and you look at that tables menu, it's about a third of the way down. It's amazing how alphabetically we've got a lot of stuff that really starts with the second half of the alphabet, is about only a third of the way down. But numbers that pay in between opens and pivot traders, starting with the letter N, alphabetical order in that roadmap, in those roadmap menus, makes things a little bit easier to find. So tables menu, numbers that pay, and it's going to be a big deal on Tuesday. Hope to see you guys back to talk about that. Let's go ahead and look at what Tom was talking about last night, Futures Plus Education, and I'll check you guys later today.
You got to pay attention when futures are open. They're up tonight. There's a bid. I connect futures to stocks and options. Only way I'd be at this kind of high accuracy rate. That's why I teach it. I've been trading futures for many years, member of the CME. In fact, I was part of the team when Germany brought the DAX to America. I was part of the team that went around the United States and was a key marketer and trader for them, for the CME and the CBOE also, back in the day. Now this is a big one. I was one of only 50 people outside of Chicago that got a Globex terminal, had a permit on it. It was a forerunner to electronic trading. So when I talk about the 24-hour market, I don't talk from a book. I talk from living it and breathing it back in the day. The times that I have in Europe, the times I have in Asia, and people in futures see this all the time, are times that will make you money if you learn these times. That is a value proposition. Can't get anywhere else, I don't believe, in the world. Now, I started this training about 2 years ago. I came out of retirement to do it. I basically said, I'll just trade myself. And then I expanded it after a few classes to include online education at 7 o'clock on Monday night. Almost the perfect time to set up the week, isn't it? Who's in my Futures First? Who's in my Futures First training? Isn't it great on Monday night at 7 to have all the stuff before anybody else has it, but tying these markets, futures markets, to what's happening in the general market? I think it's the perfect time, Monday night at 7. And we record it if you can't be there. Great training. Bill thinks that if you want to learn futures, I'm your guy. Who thinks Bill's right saying that? The originator of the DTI salute over there. Who thinks Bill's right? I'm the guy to teach you futures. I keep it simple. I keep it straightforward. and I lead you to what will make you money in futures and show you all the mistakes I made in the past to avoid. And I made a bunch of them. Now, here's some of the classes we held so far. These are all on videotape. That's what I love about this. I can give these to you now. Foundation of Understanding Futures, a whole setup of things there, okay? Pretty interesting stuff with the foundation. Talk about the E-mini. Talking about gold. What a market to know how to trade futures with. Silver. Options. I love these options on futures. I put on a couple tonight on bonds and on silver tonight. Seven Sisters. You've heard me talk about this. This is where I take the E-mini, connect it to the SPY. I take the NASDAQ, connect it to the QQQ. I take the Dow futures and connect it to the diamond. I take crude oil, connect it to USO. I take gold and connect it to GLD. I take silver and connect it to SLV, PAAS, AGQ, a lot of variations for connecting silver. All that's in the training. All that is here when you're part of Futures First. We use Tasty Trade to train futures on because I believe their platform is probably the simplest platform I've seen for people to use to learn futures. From what I can tell, with my experience, I like teaching from that. It teaches you about the money, which is the most important thing about understanding about futures. We have tools. We use MTI. We have that to trade MES. One of the beautiful things about tomorrow at 1:30, if you're part of it, you're going to be able to take everything that I teach with the general market, which is the S&P, and apply it to, at that time of day, apply it to early in the week, the SPY. That's why I'm doing tomorrow at 1:30. Haven't done that before. I thought it'd be fun to do and to do it tomorrow on Monday. I call it Futures Plus Education because in my opinion, understanding futures is your gateway to the rest of the stock market. Here's the lineup here: E-mini, SPY, NASDAQ, QQQ, Dow, Diamond, Crude, USO, Gold, GLD, Silver, SLV, and bonds, which is interest rates. Remember I said I thought they would drop this week, interest rates, TLT. Now, if ES goes up, the SPY will go up. So let's talk about it. If I can tell you the pivot number for the S&P is 6775, and you're above 6775, and you've got an uptrend going on the futures, you can go over to the SPY and buy a call option and make money. It will follow that S&P path. Pretty simple connection, but it's a very valuable one if you're trying to make money. And I know everybody here is trying to figure out how to make money. This is an edge using futures. Futures First class is ongoing, continually expanding our library of futures education every Monday night. Really, take advantage of where the setups are and teach you something new every Monday night. We're calling it Futures Plus because education now. Why am I doing that? Because when we have our classes, when we see opportunities now, we take the futures market and apply those opportunities around the globe, which makes them extremely valuable to you, the trader. Futures Plus education now includes 1 year training in Futures Plus and a 1 year license to the roadmap. A 1 year license. If you buy and study under me for a year, you also get online trading and training with the roadmap. Futures Plus education. Our Monday night training starts at 7. We'll post insights throughout the week in our private trade room when we see things happening. Like Friday, for example, it was clear the market was breaking the Genesis number, going lower. That was a prime time to get an insight about connecting Genesis with RB4. I told people in futures last week, silver was headed to 50, do a delta play. I had one man, many more, but one man made $5,200 off that post. How did he do it? Well, if you look at what he did, he applied the training from the videos. He applied this insight here to know the timing was right, and he made $5,200. Now, you say that's not all that big a deal, but hey, he just started training under me in futures. He knew how to put the order in. We covered that. He knew how to take advantage of it. These insights that I'm posting are very valuable, okay? SP said, I joined Futures First for a year and just extended for another year as the training is robust and ongoing. He says he's always learning and I'm always teaching. Now, this is the biggie, folks. Y'all ready? You know I've been big on the Delta 50 strategy, okay? How many people ever played cards? You got 5 cards, right? My plan for the next 5 weeks in Futures First is to show you strategies with Delta 50 that apply and the time to use a Delta 50 strategy, the setups, a Delta 40, a Delta 30, a Delta 20, and Delta 10. All of them have unique strike prices and unique expirations. And here's going to be the beauty. Let's say a week's going on. Let's say I see an E-mini out there and I say, hey, this baby qualifies for a Delta 20. When I post Delta 20 in the Futures First Education Room, you will be able to go there and say, this is the setup that means. How you like this for a way to help you? You see what I'm going to do here? You're going to read about and hear about more people like David and other people that are taking advantage of what this is going to be. So say it's Tuesday morning and everybody's talking about the bond market, interest rates falling. Maybe I will post a Delta 20 strategy that you go, well, here, let me look at my setup. We'll have a cheat sheet for you to use. We'll put it together. But the next 5 weeks, I'm going to spend on Monday night going through this training and education to have everybody set up to really benefit. Not only the education, but really benefit when they see these type setups. That's what I bring into the Futures Online Education. It starts tomorrow night. Don't miss out. Don't miss out. Now, we only got 4 spots left that include all this. $17.49 is the current price. If you take one of those 4 spots, you'll come in at that price. If you also qualify for being there tomorrow for RB4, so there you go. So this is tonight. This is the night only. We got 4 left. Any questions about this, folks? Here it is. We're doing the work to help you understand futures and apply futures, not only in the futures market, but in the stock market. Nobody's 88% accurate looking at charts and all that stuff that Wall Street says. You have to integrate what futures do to get you on the right side of the market. You see it and you'll believe it. Any questions? Any questions about this?
Hey, T-Buzz, I just wanted to be clear. Tonight is the last night that we have the offer that includes the roadmap. So,
oh, okay. I knew you were going to take it off, but I didn't know the night was last
it's
night.
done.
Yeah, Jonathan did it by mistake, and I said, well, we'll do it for 10. So now we're down to 4. So get the roadmap for a year. This is your chance. Do it. If you're in Futures First, and you grab this package will add it on plus the roadmap to your current subscription. I always like to tell people that if they're already members, okay? But we're about to take this to the next level. You're ready. I've been training. I came up with a way to do what I want to do. It's called the Delta strategy. Any questions about that? Let me explain it again. Let's say it's a Delta 30. You will have a setup for Delta 30. Let's say that we see gold is a Delta 30 strategy. You'll know the expiration date. You'll know how to play options with it. You'll know the whole package for a Delta 30. Makes it simple, and you'll know what to do to take advantage of the most efficient way at that time, day or night. This came to me, I got to tell you, this strategy or this approach came to me one morning. I was trading. Boy, it'd be nice to, everybody, I was doing this trade. And I said, it'd be nice to be able to do this, have it do it. So I'm going to call it and name it. The Delta strategies, first and foremost now inside futures training. Pretty cool. Oil falling, maybe I give you a Delta 40 strategy on oil. That way you got expiration date, strike price, put it on. Does everybody understand how beneficial this is going to be to you throughout the week? What do you think, Jennifer? You're going to like it, aren't you? Yep, I knew you would. All right, we'll get into the details of it. Remember, 1:30 tomorrow, we'll get together, and then 7 o'clock, a double banger tomorrow on futures. So as I always say, see you on the flip side. I'm asked, am I surprised the market's shrugging off the shutdown? I'm never surprised. I follow the numbers, William. Whatever the numbers tell me to do, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to post right inside the room